Forgot to press the live button. I've been talking to myself. I'm Golden Duffy. I'm your host of the Golden Hour, and I love to be real and authentic, and sometimes I screw things up. I love to show you that you do not have to be perfect to put yourself out there. So I'm super excited for today's show where we get to expand and grow together from the information that I share. So thank you for being here. If you were here before me, you were just priming the energy for me. All right. So today we're talking about the emotional field, and man, manifestation has been like off the charts lately. Like literally, I feel like we have been in this incredible energy field where I just think about things and they manifest. So I have a lot of incredible things happening. I'm going to share a little bit later in the show what's happening because I want to dive into this conversation and I want to get deep as far as your emotional field. I want you to really understand that your emotions are energy in motion, and your emotions are the things that are actually tuning you into the frequencies that are creating the field around you. So we have this quantum field all around us, and everyone and everything that comes into your field is part of your conduction. It's what you are conducting from. And it's funny, I put a post up on Facebook yesterday and I said, if you are feeling jealous of people around you, you are blocking the blessings that could flow. And that's actually a universal law. Because if you are jealous of someone, you are in lack of what they're doing. And I always say to people, because they're often like, I'll be with people and they'll say, oh, I'm, single women, divorced women. And they'll say, I'm so jealous of you and your husband. And I will say, don't be jealous of us. Let us be evidence. Because I'm in your field means this is possible for you. And my husband and I are clarification of your desire. So we are showing you and we are close to you. So that means that you are close to manifesting. But what most people do is they get super jealous. They allow that to create misery within them and more lack. And guess what that does? It slows the energy field down. The emotion that they're feeling is the emotion that keeps them from actually creating what they want to create. So let me just look because I got some love coming in. I love love. Thank you for the love. So the jealous, feeling jealous about other people or other, people are doing things in their lives, let them be your fuel. Let them be evidence to you and watch what they're doing, because what they're doing is, it's coachable. Like you can do it yourself and actually attract it. So like, who are they and what do they do and how do they feel and what do they seem like? Like if you get super jealous, and this has definitely happened in my life, of like happy people, joyful people, and you're not in the frequency of it. So it really annoys you, right? Happy people. Now I've had this happen where people are like, it's almost like not real, right? I'm talking about authentic happiness, like authentic and real happiness. If you're looking at that and it's irritating you or annoying you, guess what frequency you're in? You're in a frequency that is not going to be able to find that joy and that happiness. So you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to how you feel. So your emotional field is one that is subject to your choosing. You get to choose how you feel. Now, if up until now you did not think that that was true, this show may become a surprise to you. But I'm hoping, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm not hoping, I'm intending, which is a much stronger conduction. I am intending for you to take this information and to really be able to expand and grow with it so that you can come away from this show and go, I'm going to choose how I feel. I'm going to become more aware of my thoughts. So that's what you're going to get from this show. From listening to the show today, you're going to have a deeper awareness of your emotions and what drives them. That's the most important thing, is to realize that you are driving these emotions by thoughts. Now, often our thoughts can be pretty unconscious, right? We've got like 60,000 of them a day. So we've got to get more aware. We've got to get more aware of the thoughts and more present to the way that we're feeling. You're going to get a greater understanding of how to choose your thoughts to drive the right emotional frequencies, more control over your life by having more control over what's coming to you because of the way that you're responding. So when it comes to law of attraction, it's not what comes to you. That's not necessarily what you're attracting. It's how you respond to it that actually determines the next moment, because what is coming to you right now might be from your frequency from before. So this is a really challenging piece of understanding manifestation at its depth, is that when you start to change, the energy needs time. The energy needs time to break down and become physical matter. This wave needs time to become. And most people get super impatient and they're like, what's going on, and they get frustrated, and then they slow the energy down even more. So understanding that your response is actually what is conducting, because what you were thinking about before, let's say, you've been really working on your abundance. I'm doing a 21-day abundance activation with a group of people, and I believe I'm going to launch another one. I'm not sure, might be on June 1st. I'm not totally sure about that yet because I have a lot of things going on. So I have to follow the energy. That's something that I always do. I follow the energy and see what makes sense and see what feels right at the time. When you are in the middle of a conduction, let's say you've come from I've gone through a lot of financial struggle, a lot of not having enough. Let's say you're just coming out of that. You've been practicing, you've been really working on noticing abundance in the universe. You've been, working on your visualizations. You've been really working hard on not feeling super constricted. I'm going to do a show on money. It might be my next one, because money is an energy that we can all really do better at practicing bringing more of it in, instead of constricting ourselves and keeping ourselves in a box of fear. We can blow out of that box and actually start creating a better flow of money. And I am definitely someone who knows how to do that. So I'm going to probably do my next show on that. However, when you're working in your emotional field to create something new, the universe will bring you things to see where you're at. Now, I don't think it's a test. I really don't think it's a test. What I think is it's an opportunity for us to up level with a new response. Because when we up level, let's say a bill comes and we normally, like an unexpected bill comes, and we normally freak out over that bill. I mean, we've all been there, right? Like, I didn't know this was here, and I didn't know I owed this much money. And then we get really upset and we call people, we complain to people, the whole thing. Yeah, I'm there. I got it. I've done it. I don't do it anymore, but I have done it. Interestingly, I don't really get those unexpected bills anymore because my frequency is different. This is what happens when you feel super down and broke and like you don't have enough. The universe will give you more to feel that way. So when you do get something, when you do get the unexpected bill, if you look at it and you go, I can't wait to see what's going to manifest from this, because this is an opportunity for me to focus. This is an opportunity for me to show myself how powerful I am. You will change the energy field quite quickly. So that's how it's done when you're learning to expand and grow into a new level. You're going to be called there, but you have to have new responses. If you go back into your old identity, you're going to go back into your past stories, your past energies, and this new wave of conduction isn't going to be as strong. Now you're still going to do it. You don't have to be perfect. That's the great thing about law of attraction, is there's no perfectionism. You don't need that whatsoever. There's no such thing, first of all. It's progress. We always want to be making progress. We always want to be looking at our life and going, okay, where am I being called to next? What is this giving me an opportunity to look at? I've been saying this a lot with people in relationships, in things at work that happen that people aren't happy about, and I'm like, you have to look at this. These people, these little rascals, are in your life for a reason. So if you look at them and you go, what am I to learn from this? Why am I in this situation? Is this just about them? Do they have wounds that they need to heal? Are they trying to project onto me? No one can project onto you, quite frankly, unless you take it and you make it personally. So when you look at that and you go, okay, I don't need to respond that way. I don't need to tune into their frequency, I have the choice to respond in the way that makes me feel the very best. So that's like mastery. It's not perfection, it's progress. And I would say I am a master at law of attraction and frequency. And I've taught this for 10 years and I have hundreds of episodes about it. And I still have moments of being triggered, of saying things I wish I didn't say, of having to navigate a bumpy frequency to get myself back. But what I've noticed is in those times that I'm in a trigger, that I am saying things that I wish I didn't say or feeling hurt or whatever it is, they are so much easier to come back from. And they show me so much about what I have left to clean up. So they're really important. And I do not beat myself up. I don't ever do that. So if you're doing that and you've got a lot of that self-critical voice, I do have a podcast on my Manifest to Live Life Golden page that you can check out that's really good on that self-critical thinking. And I'll do an episode here too, just for you. All right. So you are not a victim. You're not a victim to your emotions. You are not a victim to this world. You are not a victim to anyone. So you have to take the blame off of everyone else and you have to start looking within if you really, really want to be a powerful creator. You absolutely have control over your emotions. So what are emotions? They are feelings that are fueled by our thoughts, judgments, perceptions, and stories. What does that tell you? They're fueled by thoughts, judgments, perceptions, and stories. That tells you that they are subject to anything we want to think about them. They are subject to any story we want to wrap around them. They are often connected to past experiences, and it is our job to clear those out so we don't keep creating from our past. The last thing we want to do is to continue to create from our past because that's cyclical. We create cycles, and our job on this planet, if you are listening to me right now, if you are listening to this show, your job is to be an awakener, is to break generational cycles and to break cycles in your life so that you can become more. There's no way you're listening to this show without being one of those. Not everyone is one of those. You may have parents, you may have siblings, you may have friends that are not necessarily here to awaken. They're here to be part of other people's awakenings. So often when we are in situations of trauma and family that is not necessarily at the level of frequency that we want to live at, they are there to empower us to a new level. I know, that's a good one. Okay. So frequency and understanding your energy conduction. So I have shared before that we are like living in a big radio station. So that radio station gets tuned in. We dial into it by how we're feeling. And those feelings are fueled by our thoughts, judgments, perceptions, stories. So it all begins with a thought. The cool thing is every thought doesn't manifest. But the other piece of that is every emotion does. So as soon as you get enough thoughts going that the emotion is triggered, then you will start conducting. And I've seen it time and time again. Something will happen and I'll go, that's exactly how I was feeling. So, it's like when you got poop going on in your life, like something happened to my daughter. Oh, she was taking care of like a bunch of dogs and the dog pooped in the crate. And I was like, well, you've been feeling like poop about your life. So it's an indication. It's all a reflection, right? Yeah, she didn't appreciate that. All right. So we want emotional intelligence that will serve our entire life. When we have emotional intelligence, what emotional intelligence is that we have a grasp on our emotional field enough to be able to go within, to look at those emotions that are feeling heavy, that are feeling, that are connected to past wounds. And we're able to look at them and journal them. I have a whole process for you guys to do that. Plus I have a book on that as well. Okay. All right. So we have to go into the quantum physics of it. And I know I've shared that on this show before, but I like to share it again and again and again because it's really important for you to start getting into the reality of the fact that you are sending out energy, and all the energy that you're sending out, just like this wave, all the energy that you're sending out is coming back to you. It's like that boomerang effect, right? What you send out is what you get back. What you focus on always expands. So please keep that in mind, because when you're talking about people, when you're complaining, when you're in a low frequency in your life, you are going to continue to create those scenarios that keep you in that frequency. So we have to break free. We have to become in control. We have to say enough is enough, and we have to take our power back. And you can take your power back as early as today. Maybe you already have, and I hope you have. If you've been listening to this, you definitely have. All right. So you wake up first thing in the morning, right? You get out of bed, and your first thought is, I don't want to go to work today, right? You hit the snooze button. I always say the snooze button is like a sign that you don't want to deal with your life. I never snooze. I never snooze. My husband does, interestingly. And he does feel that way a little bit sometimes. You don't want to face your life, and it kind of starts your day in a way. Plus, going back to sleep is not really good for you, because if you're in a deep state of REM and the alarm wakes you up, that is the best time to actually get out of bed. If you're falling asleep and you're half in between sleep and not, you're actually in a less restful place. So you'll feel less restful if you go back to sleep for 10 minutes. It's been proven. That's like a scientific thing. So get out of bed, jump out of bed. Jump out of bed. And your first thoughts should always be about gratitude. And this is why. When you go to sleep, you are you're in a different state of consciousness, right? You're in that like theta. When you come out of sleep, it is your first opportunity to set your frequency for the day. So important. And this is why meditating first thing in the morning is a really, really, really good idea. I really implore you to do it first thing in the morning. It will absolutely radically change your life. So you get out of bed, you start thinking about all the things you're grateful for. Maybe you look out your window. I do this a lot. I open my blinds. I look to see if the sun is out. I like to see the sunrise. Like, that just makes me feel so good. I look at the birds. We've got hundreds of birds in our backyard. It's so amazing. We've literally been watching like an episode of the birds because we have nests back there and they're feeding their babies and they're singing songs. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Nature is so good for you. So do something that actually fuels that. And maybe you go and you get a cup of coffee and you're like really present to that cup of coffee. You are setting the frequency for that day. Now, if you are getting up and rushing, and we know how this is, like being late, when the alarm didn't go off and we overslept and we're late and we're just rushing and we're crazy. I love the meme that says you can't be late twice. I love that meme. Because what rushing does is it actually creates a whole bunch of reasons, because you're anxious, right? Because you're anxious and you're rushing and I'm late. You are creating more reasons to be late. So you'll hit traffic, or you'll spill your coffee, or your kids will be difficult, whatever it is. So pay attention to that, because time is yours. So you have to settle yourself into the day. So make sure that if that happens to you, that you are aware of it and that you are able to take some deep breaths and say, I have plenty of time. I'm going to get there at the exact time I need to be there. And you may not clockwise get there at the exact time that you need to be there, but you will get there at the perfect time, and there will be no repercussions because you've set the energy field, you've set the frequency. Think about when you're bunged up and you're anxious and I'm late and I'm going to get in trouble. Think about what that sends out, that signal, and that's why you get in trouble. So you got to bring yourself down and you got to set and tune your frequency for what you want to experience no matter what. So the first part of the day, super important. Sit down, meditate, put on some wonderful YouTubes. I have a wonderful self-love meditation for you if you want it for free. All you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel at Manifest to Live Life Golden, and then email me. Here, I'll put up my email address. You can email me and let me know you did that, and I will send you a free guided meditation. It's one of my greatest ones that I've done on self-love, and it will really help you. And also, if you're new to meditation, here's another link for my meditation teaching. It is if you've never meditated before, it will give you the basis of meditation, and it will teach you how to sit and, exactly what you need to do to train your mind, because meditation is a mind training. And if you don't train your mind, you can't create your life. Because if you let this mind have its way with you, it's going to hold you back from things. It's going to keep you small. It's going to tell you lies. So you've got to overcome it. And that's what meditation is all about. All right. So once you have a thought, okay, so in the morning, you've got that opportunity to start creating your foundation. You have a thought and it starts to go out as this wave, and that wave actually starts to go. Now, there's a couple things that happen in the energy field at that point. That wave will either keep going and it will break down and become physical, but it all depends on what you're doing. So if you're riding that wave of goodness and appreciation and love and joy, that wave is going to keep going, and you are going to be manifesting amazing stuff like I am. I'm telling you, I don't share these things to brag. I share them because I want everyone with me. I want everyone on this train with me because it is so freaking fantastic. It really is. And it just gets better. And that's also the incredible thing about law of attraction is the better it gets, the better it gets. And the reason for that is momentum. Once you start setting a momentum and you really get yourself going, it's going to get better. Now, it doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. It doesn't mean that you're not ever going to have a challenge in your life again. What it means is when those challenges do come, they shouldn't rock you to your core. And if they do, if they get you down on your knees, if they get you super depressed, if they get you super anxious and nervous and upset, you got to do some frequency work, because that means you've got some healing work that to do. You've got to go within and start looking at those things. I have a book out. It's called Mindful Manifestation Secrets Daily Guide and Journal. That's available on Amazon. You really got to look for it. Put my name in. They've kind of buried that one. There's 100 pages of content about law of attraction, about the things you need to let go if you want to raise your frequency, and the exact process of being able to journal this stuff out and release those emotions and heal those wounds. That's what we want to do. We want to heal those wounds. All right. Your emotion is what drives the frequency and sustains it. And that's what creates the wave of creation. What you attract is a match to the emotions you have set forth. So you may attract something that doesn't look like, exactly what you were thinking about, right? It's not about what you're thinking about, it's what you're feeling. So if you're super constricted and you're fearful about your finances, your car will break down. Like things will happen that you'll go, I feel even more broke now, right? So that's the frequency that you're attracting in. So if you're in a situation like that, I get it. It's a challenge. It was probably one of the greatest challenges I've ever come out of my life, like 3 times with, is that financial struggle of not feeling like there's enough. And I will tell you that it's a process, and it's amazing. It's an amazing process to go through, and you will learn so much about yourself, and you will gain so much confidence in this law of attraction stuff when you start showing yourself, when money starts flowing into your experience from very unlikely sources. It does a lot for you. It does a lot for your faith. It does a lot for your spirit. It does a lot for your confidence in this manifestation game. If you haven't had stuff like that happen, like if you haven't had big miracles or you haven't had evidence of manifesting yet, just hang in there, because this is a learning thing. There's a learning thing that has to happen. I know when we first started our law of attraction journey, it was probably, the first thing that I manifested was in 2008. I manifested a pilot, and it was a Honda Pilot, not a person pilot, a Honda Pilot. And it was funny because and of course we had car payments on it. It wasn't like somebody gave it to me for free, but my husband brought it home, and it was literally like The Secret. I just listened to The Secret, and I actually think The Secret has done quite a disservice, and I'll tell you why. I was sitting in my my kitchen, excuse me, and I looked out the window and the exact car that I had been visualizing, the color, the sunroof, the leather seats, every single detail was there and it was brought to me. I didn't have to go through paperwork. I didn't have to go through credit score. I didn't have to do anything. My husband brought it home to me. So as much as I say, the reason why I say The Secret did a disservice is because they showed a guy in a chair manifesting a sports car in his driveway. And does it work like that? It can. It can. But for the most part, there needs to be an activation of energy. And that activation of energy is what tells the universe that we're ready to go. Now, my husband obviously activated energy and went and got the car. How the whole thing lined up for me to get the exact car I wanted. Well, that's the magical part. That's the manifestation part. That's why we can be super detailed and we can be really clear about what we want. It's almost better if we are. All right, so this is the emotional scale that I want to share with you because this emotional scale will show you the range of emotions, and then you can start recognizing where you are. And you can just Google this. It's emotional scale on Google, so you can get it from there if you want to put it up so you can pay attention to where you're at. I've been known to put index cards all around my house that say, what are you focused on right now? How are you feeling right now? Because we've got to wake ourselves up. We are living in a dream most of the time. We are living in this automatic programming that continues all these cycles, and we have to break it. We have to break from it. All right, so here's the scale: joy, appreciation, empowered, freedom, love. That's number one. Number two, passion. Love me some passion. Three, enthusiasm, eagerness, and happiness. Do you think that I'm at the top of this scale? I'm probably annoyingly at the top of the scale, right? Positive expectation and belief. Number four. Number five, optimism. Like when something happens, being optimistic about it, saying, you know what? It doesn't look good, but I think this could happen, and being clear about what you actually want to happen so you can drive that frequency. Hopefulness, not as powerful as optimism. Contentment, boredom, pessimism. This is when we start to go down the scale. Frustration, overwhelm. I've been a little overwhelmed lately, and I don't really think that it's a bad thing. I just have a lot to do. So I'm really checking in with the excitement over the anxiety. So here's a tip for you. Excitement and anxiety are the same energy. They're the same energy in your body. They actually download a lot of the same hormones in your body. What creates from them is the story you wrap around the energy. So when I start to feel that energy, and I feel a lot in my chest, I feel it a lot in my heart. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to breathe because I have so much happening and it's so exciting and it's so thrilling that it could become painful, because I could say, gosh, I'm so anxious today, right? Instead, I say, I'm so excited. There's so much happening and I can feel myself going to a new level. Disappointment, that's a big one. We're going to talk about that in a second. Doubt, worry, blame, discouragement. Now we're getting into anger, revenge, hatred and rage, jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness. 22 is fear, grief, or depression. Interesting that they're all on the same thing. Despair and powerlessness. They're all on the same level: fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. Now, I want you to note, I love 21, which is insecurity and guilt. I always like to make a note that guilt is one of the lowest vibrational emotions on the scale, right next to depression, and it serves no one. So when you feel bad, this is so crazy. When people say to me, oh, I didn't do this thing and I feel really bad, I'm like, why would you choose to feel bad? If you're going to say no to someone because it's better for you to not do something, please don't feel bad. Please, please, please don't feel bad, because all you're doing is sending out an energy that's going to have them reflect to you more reasons for you to feel bad. So let go of the guilt, please. I know as a mom, guilt is one of those things that I could really feel, Like, actually, if you want to hear my Mother's Day story, it's on my podcast. And I'm not proud of it, but I am a little bit, because it makes me human. And I won't share it on here, but if you would like to hear it, it's there. So that is your emotional scale, and you want to be super aware of where you are on that scale. Now, right now, you may be thinking, well, I'm just feeling okay, and like I have nothing to really feel excited about. Well, find something. Find something to be excited about, because excitement, knowing where your excitement is, like what is the next exciting thing to do, is one of the most powerful things you can do. So I'm going to share a little manifestation story. This is so cool. This is something that happened to me recently. I had two things, really amazing things happen this week, and they happened really fast. So I have a very, very best friend, someone that I've loved for my whole life. I met her in kindergarten, and she moved to Arizona when I was 13. And every year we had gone back and forth to see each other. And one of her biggest things was the Tears for Fears song, Don't You Forget About Me. So whenever I hear that song, I think of her, but that was her biggest worry, is that I was going to forget about her. But we are soul sisters. Like there's no way that I could forget about her. So interestingly, she kind of manifested that a little bit, because we spent our teenage years, seeing each other. And then she would come and visit me once I started to have kids. And then we didn't see each other for like 20 years. And thankfully, Facebook actually brought us back together. And now we are closer than ever. So her belief was, right, that I was going to forget about her. So for 20 years, I did, interestingly. So she had a trip to Iceland planned. And this was like 3 years ago, and COVID had delayed it. And now they had to use their tickets. So they were getting ready for their trip. And their trip actually got canceled because her husband's visa was going to be expired. And it can't be expired 90 days after the trip. Just so you know, if you're traveling, make sure your passports are up to date. And so, I was working with her on this, and I was like really trying to get her to not give up and try again and research. And there's got to be a way. And she was like, I'm kind of over it. Well, this story really turned into something, and it turned into something for me, which I'm so crazy about. Well, I think she started to ask herself, like, what do I really want? So I started thinking about it. Her birthday just passed, and I went to the store, and I absolutely can't stand buying gifts for people that I just like, I need things to feel special. So I didn't get her anything. And I was like, you know what I really want? This is what you got to do in your life. You got to think about what you really want. You know what I really want? I really want to go see her. She lives in Florida. I live in California. And it turned out my husband was talking about going back to Connecticut this next week, to help my daughter with something. And I was like, wow, that would be a great opportunity for me to go and see my friend, because my husband will be away and it's really hard for me to leave him because we love to be together. And then I can fly to Connecticut and see my daughter as well. So it was like win-win. Well, it turns out my friend asked herself, like, what is in her highest excitement? And her highest excitement is to go back to our hometown and drive around together. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So she texted me this morning and she said, I got us a convertible, which is hilarious. And we were talking about where we were going to stay and trying to figure out, and she made a mention. It would be so cool to stay by the lake, because my daughter lives near Bantam Lake. So I was like, all right. And I go on Airbnb, and boom, a place pops up. This lady has never rented it before. We're the first people. And it is the most incredible little lake house with kayaks, because we wanted to go kayaking. I mean, it's just like, you can't even make this stuff up once you start putting out your energy towards manifestation and towards your highest excitement and what you really want to happen. I'm telling you, it is powerful. Now, if you don't have a lot of evidence of it, it may be hard to find your highest excitement, but I promise once you start getting in that frequency, we all know that frequency. When we're super happy, when we're super passionate, when we're working on something and we feel creative, when something is really lighting us up, like this conversation does it for me every single time. When we do that, like when you get this transference of energy from me and you take my beliefs to heart and you go, all right, this girl, she's saying something real, and I'm going to believe her, and I'm going to start doing these things. I'm going to start putting myself in a high frequency every day. You will see evidence so fast, I don't even have to convince you. All right, so let your emotions be your guide in the way that you get to be more diligent about paying attention to the way you feel. That's what it's all about. Most are creating from wounds and default. When you are not conducting from your awareness, you are conducting from your program. You are conducting from your default mode, which is not always great. It can be okay, but a lot of times it's reaped in wounds and unhealed things that you haven't looked at. So it's time for you to take the reins. It's time for you to meditate to clear your mind. I shared my meditation teaching on here. Go get it if you need it. If not, just go on YouTube. YouTube meditations and look for one that really resonates with you. I've gone through different ones at different times in my life. So I can share, I did Joe Dispenza, Fred Dodson. Um, there's a lot of them out there. Silva method. I'm really into the Alpha Silva method right now because I just like the frequency. Solfeggio, anything solfeggio or the love frequency is amazing. Set your clock for 15 to 20 minutes and just sit there and just be and just focus on this becoming really blank. All right, reset your vibrational foundation through meditation, through being in nature, through breathing, and then work on your feelings. Look for my guided journal and really start working on your feelings. Work on journaling out the things that don't serve you anymore. Get real with yourself. I think there's a lot of people out here that are just not being honest with themselves. You know, they're just telling themselves a story every day. Oh, it's okay. I don't need to lose weight today, or I don't need to work out today. It's fine. I'll start on Monday. We're just not being honest. And if we're not being honest, guess what? We have no conduction power if we're not being honest. So start looking at your life and getting more honest. If you feel powerless, there are boundaries you probably need to set in your life. You're probably giving too much to people. Are you feeling irritated a lot? Like, what's that about? What are you irritated about? Why are you giving your power away to things and allowing yourself to be in a frequency of irritation? That's all frequency. And, you know, I have a lot of women in my life and they'll say, well, you know, it's hormones. And okay, okay, do we want to give our power away to hormones? Like, I am a big proponent of not doing that. And by deciding how I want to feel, I am conducting from that. When you leave your frequency in default, yeah, those hormones are going to pull you down. Instead, if you're like, what can I do? Are there products out there? Are there, you know, all natural supplements? I got one for you right here. My real mushrooms. Love my real mushrooms. Take them every single day. I'm not a vitamin person, but these real mushrooms, I watch, you know, the specials on Netflix about mushrooms. And I'm like, I mean, even Joe Rogan had the guy from, I think from this company on his show about the incredible, fantastic ability that mushrooms have to, you know, not have dementia, not have Alzheimer's. That's what lion's mane is all about, to actually up our immune system, to create cells that actually don't go dysfunctional on us. So I do things for my health like that. And I think you get a little discount link in there too if you want to order that. Okay. Resentful. Many times we resent people because we're over giving to them. I was definitely that mom. I was giving from my wounds. I was overcompensating for what I didn't get as a child. And that was creating a lot of resentment for me. So I had to clean that up, you know, and that came from many, many years of giving to people too much. So I had to clean that up for myself. Low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Do you have wounds to look at? Do you have playground wounds? Do you have, you know, we were watching Queer Eye for the Straight. I don't know if it's called that anymore. It's Queer Eye, and they have a new season out, and they're amazing. It's 5 men. They rehaul people's lives, and there was this woman who one person had said something to her at a bar one time, and they were making fun of her and they were judging her, and it literally took over her life and blew her self-esteem, blew it. So like, are we doing that? Are we giving our power away to a past experience? You know, I call them playground wounds, things that happened to us when we were little and we're still wearing them around. Like, your self-confidence and your self-esteem comes from showing yourself. It comes from showing up for your life, and it's saying, I want this. And when you do that, the conduction is very strong because you are decided. Decision is one of the strongest energies we can go for. And then when you take it into like your identity and you start to become it because you're acting as if, right? Like I don't always feel confident when I get myself in situations. Like, I've got to just do it. I got to do it. I got to work through my fear. I got to walk through that fire. And then on the other side, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. Like coming into this TV show, I was like, oh my goodness. I had a couple of days of like, what did I sign up for? But now I'm getting more comfortable and now I'm really excited to do this. So I turned that anxiety into excitement. Go me, not bragging, just sharing what you can do. Okay, I do these processes with people and show them exactly where their wounds came from. So once you face them, they have no hold over you because you've exposed them. Same thing with fear, right? Fear is false evidence appearing real. Once you look at it, it dissipates. And I have done this with hundreds of people where we've gone, all right, what's the emotion we're feeling and where does it come from? And then these memories pop up for people and it exposes it. And it's like, oh, that was my 5-year-old self. Well, I don't want to live from her stuff. I don't want to live from her beliefs. So if I really want to grow up and mature and up level into my adulthood of who I am now, I have to let that go. And then it's just a practice of interrupting and letting those things go. So when we really look at these things, they change. It gives us a way to reframe and find new perspectives. Perspectives are probably the coolest thing that I do when I work with people. I just give them another way to look at it. So that has to do with mind training and releasing your need to have beliefs that are so tight, like so limiting and so tight that you can't invite in other you can't you can't invite in other energies and other information. So you really want to open yourself up. I want to be open to receive. I want to be aware. I want to be awake. I want to consider things. When you consider other things, you open yourself up to other options. When you are hardlined, we all know people who are super stubborn and it's their way or the highway. And let me tell you, those people are missing out. They are evidence of you for you of missing out on life because they're not open to new experiences or new ideas. Many times the stories we are telling are filled with assumptions, and you know what they say when you assume. I'm not allowed to swear on the show, but it's the truth. When you assume, you are actually sending out a signal where you have no evidence of it. That's what assuming is. There's nothing really backing it. It's just it's ideas that come from probably your wounds or your past or your judgments about a person, right? Like, I know she did that, and it's thinking the worst about people, and it's not a great conduction. So stop assuming. Like, I do this sometimes, and my husband will be like, well, you don't know that's true. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I don't know that's true. And do I want it to be true? Because if I don't want it to be true, then why would I drive it? Why would I continue to think it and tell that story? So your stories, judgments, and perceptions are the drivers of your emotional field. So pay attention to that because a lot of the judgments and the stories and the beliefs that we have actually came from other people. And those people weren't necessarily conscious, and those people weren't necessarily amazing manifestors like you are. Many times the story, often those stories are based on past experience that drive cycles because we aren't looking at the feelings that are coming up and we're not healing them. So we live in a society of people that are just pushing their feelings down. In fact, going back to that show, the first episode of Queer Eye was this frat house that they did with these boys. And it really makes you realize how boys, and I think this is part of our suicide epidemic, we're not teaching kids how to feel, and we're not teaching kids what to do with their feelings. And because of that, people are getting in a lot of trouble. We've got a lot of addiction. We've got a lot of suicide. We've got a lot of overweight people. I really believe that obesity it's linked to the terrible food that people are choosing, but it's also linked to a heavy frequency. When you are eating for your emotions, you're pushing them down. You're pushing them down with food, and you're just a very unhappy, sad person. Now you might say, well, I'm fat and jolly, and that's not true. And that's okay if you feel that way. But lose 100 pounds and see how you feel. See what happens to your life when you can move and you can run and you can play and you can actually move your physical body. your life will take off. It really will. So many benefits to that. Doubts and self-critical thinking is a habit that is often driven by old energies that may be stuck in your body. So old energies that have intense responses to things. And those are things in life that you have really strong fears of, phobias, PTSD. PTSD is an emotional response that is directly rooted in the past. And when severe, can make you lose touch with reality. So we all have little levels of PTSD, but the ones that we're used to are people that have been in combat, and they literally go back to that combat and they lose reality. And the fact is, they've got that energy is stuck in their body, and their neural pathways are so well paved with the trauma that we've got to find ways to interrupt that. We've got to find ways to release the energy. So those are always traumas that were never dealt with. And, sitting with your feelings, allowing yourself to be in touch with them, journaling, releasing through releasing through breath work, or working with a professional energy healer. I've worked with lots of energy healers. After doing the work, it becomes a decision. And this is one of the reasons why, if you've done conventional therapy, and I'm not putting down therapy, but if you've done conventional therapy and you've gone in week after week and you've talked about the same things, you're activating from the same frequencies. So you're in the problem, as they say, unless you have a really good therapist who's giving you other perspectives and you're feeling different. This is the important part. You're feeling different after you leave that office. You're not doing yourself any good. You're wasting your money. You are, because you're really just, all you're doing is, keeping yourself in that frequency, and you're keeping that problem alive by talking about it all the time. So you really want to work with someone. I know there are therapists out there that just ask questions, and that's great because we get our own awarenesses. But if they're not giving you ways to release that stuff, so you're not talking about the same thing every week, we have to look at frequency and how we're feeling. That's a good that's a good barometer for you in everything in your life, how you feel after. So if you're in conversations with people and afterwards you don't feel good, I have been known to break up relationships if I leave that relationship time and time again and I get off the phone and I don't feel better. Like if I feel I feel like I'm in a problem, I feel like I talked about my problems a lot, if I feel like I'm in a low frequency, many times that relationship won't last for me, because I want to be, I want to be a conductor of high frequency. I want to hang out with people who are in high frequency. It doesn't mean that I don't hang out with people that are in high frequency. I mean, I have a family, right? Not everybody's always in a high frequency. It just means that I and you get to decide how you spend your time. And if you have family members or friends that suck the life out of you and you feel awful after every conversation, you are allowed. I'm giving you, here's your permission slip to tone down your time with them and not give them so much. And it was funny. I was talking to a friend recently, and she was hanging out with this woman, and this woman had a miserable life, and she consistently put it on her. And she was like, I feel bad if I don't spend time with her. And I'm like, but you feel bad. You feel worse when you do spend time with her. That doesn't even make sense. That is like an obligation that we don't have to sign up for. And yes, we are here to love people and be in relationships, but we are also here to choose the way we spend our time. And if these people are not respecting a frequency that we want to be in, we're allowed to limit our time with them. We're allowed, okay? And we're allowed to share our good news. If you have a lot of people in your life and you're not able to share good news with them, whew, that's not good. That's not good. That's how my family was, and I don't want to do that anymore. Okay. All right. So keep going. Let's go. Understanding negative emotion. I went into my podcast, my last episode, season 2, episode 10, I think. I went into deep depth on this, and you can find that also on my YouTube channel, Manifest to Live Life Golden on YouTube. Please subscribe, please like, please share. I don't know. It's helpful. But I went into real depth on negative emotion and how negative emotion can serve you. So being okay and changing the story around negative emotion is one of the greatest things you can do. Just like accepting that you're in negative emotion and being like, all right, What do I need to learn from this? What do I need to gain from this? If this person that's in my life is, creating this with me, because we never create anything alone and we don't want to pass blame. It's asking yourself, where is my stuff in this? Where is my growing edge in this relationship so that I can up level and they can no longer have power over me? Deciding what you want to happen instead of what it looks like it's happening. So often, it looks like we're going to be disappointed and it's like, do I have to give up on this or did I really want it to happen? And it's conducting from that energy of, is there a way? Right? And sometimes we have disappointments because we're supposed to learn something from them and something better is coming. I always believe that. So, not allowing frustration, impatience, or anxiety to rule your frequency is a moment to moment choice. You are not always or expected to be perfect. Many of our negative emotions are linked to unreasonable expectations for our life. I learned this on Mother's Day, and you can listen to that podcast to hear the story. We expect life to go a certain way. We expect people to act a certain way. We expect to be loved the same way we love. We expect so much, and that's often why we get let down. So, most people believe in law of attraction as you get what you expect. And there is some level of truth to that, but there also is this gray area where it's not necessarily true because sometimes the universe has something better in store for you. And sometimes you need to heal something. Sometimes it's there for you to release and heal something. If you could adopt this saying and believe it, everything is always working out for me, you could relax and trust more. And if you could relax and trust more, guess what that does to your frequency? It sets it higher and it allows you to be more of a co-creator in this experience than a pusher of energy. Because when we get upset and we want things to happen, we can often try to push things into place and push energy. And does that work? Yes. But it's hard and it's exhausting and it's not fun. And I really just want to have more fun. One little note, and I'm almost ready to close the show, but I have to say this. For those who think that they are too emotional, there is no such thing. If you cry a lot, it's because you have energy that needs to leave your body. Some of you are empowering others to feel their feelings through you feeling yours. Many times you cry because you are connected to the deeper parts of your soul. My eyes water when I feel deeply spiritual things, and same thing when I get the chills. You know that. It's always about having that deeper connection to our source, to our spirit. So stop feeling bad for having emotions. The beginning of your meditation road may be a little bumpy if you've never really felt your feelings before. So just keep that in mind. This is a navigation process. It's not supposed to be perfect. We have to learn to start healing. If we want to get into higher vibrational living, if we want to get into the higher frequencies, we've got to start working on our momentum. And guess what our momentum is? It's a moment-to-moment decision of being aware, of choosing our thoughts and deciding where we want to go next, deciding what our responses is. Now, this is, like I said, it's a journey and it takes time. It has taken me time to get to this place and it's still not perfect, but it's okay because I'm on this journey. I'm in it to win it. I say that a lot. I'm in it to win it. So you need to be in it to win it. You need to decide that every experience that is coming to you is an up level of your growth and expansion. And that is a beautiful thing, my friends. That is where it's at. It's what we came here for, is to experience life to the fullest, to call ourselves out of fear, to call ourselves out of the mundane and to start living life more passionately. I'm telling you, it's a really great ride when you start to decide what you're going to think and what you're going to focus on and what your awareness is allowing. When you start honing that focus towards beauty and love and compassion and freedom, and you get out of these lower, denser frequencies and you start moving your body and you start meditating and you start really taking control over the life that you're living, there is nothing like it. It's like, it's passion, it's freedom, it's everything. It's everything. And I want you all, every single one of you, along with me for the ride because it's super fun. All right, you guys, that is my show for today. I cannot even believe how fast that went. That was like crazy fast. I want you to know that my show coming up is going to be amazing. I have a guy from Brazil who is an artist. He's a former supermodel, and that'll be Thursday at noon Pacific. So please join me once again on the golden hour. And I'm super excited for this life experience, and I want you to be excited too. All right, I love y'all. Peace.